All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the fourth installment of our Sea Grant Spotlight Liaison webinar series. Today, we'll be hearing from Dr. Karen Bareford, the National Water Extension Liaison located at the National Water Center. Dr. Bareford works for the University of Alabama in conjunction with the Mississippi-Alabama Sea Grant Consortium and the National Weather Service's Office of Water Prediction. With more than 13 years experience in coastal and ocean conservation and management and coastal planning, Karen's work now focuses on ensuring that new and relevant water information and science is provided to communities across the nation. Karen's combination of experience and education enables her unique ability to work across organizational boundaries to provide effective service delivery and address critical water and coastal resource challenges. And so we are excited to hear from you, and thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Hollis, and thank you everyone for joining in today. It's my pleasure to talk to you a little bit about my position as the National Water Extension Liaison and how that fits as part of the National Water Extension Program that I run as the liaison position. So I understand that there are quite a few people on here that may not, that are not necessarily part of Sea Grant, but hopefully quite a few other NOAA folks. So I want to start by providing an overview of what Sea Grant is.
Karen, I think you've muted yourself.
Yes.
Okay, sorry guys, we were having some trouble with advancement of slides and hopefully that's resolved itself now. I wanted to make sure that everyone had a kind of a baseline of information about Sea Grant, because I know we have a lot of NOAA folks, general NOAA folks from across the country online. First and foremost, Sea Grant is a part of NOAA, and our mission is to enhance the practical use and conservation of coastal, marine, and Great Lakes resources to create a sustainable economy and environment. Now, Sea Grant actually is a federal-private partnership, and we have 33 university-based programs across the country in our coastal states, territories, and in the Great Lakes. We actually work to connect federal agencies, universities, and scientists to citizens, local businesses, local and state governments. And in essence, what we're trying to do is provide them critical information to address key coastal issues that they deal with. And in essence, we're really building a bridge of trust that will hold the weight of truth. Sea Grant is considered to be those trusted partners that can provide key information in a lot of these coastal areas where we work. Now, Sea Grant has a variety of liaisons that work across the country based out of other NOAA programs and facilities. And the real role and goal of liaisons is to really facilitate the integration of key NOAA research and expertise with end user needs. And my position is a little bit unique in that I'm fairly new. I've only been here for just under 3 years. And I'm actually located in Tuscaloosa, Alabama at the Weather Service's National Water Center, which is part of the Office of Water Prediction. Similar to my position, this is a newer facility and is really state-of-the-art facility that's addressing water prediction needs for the Weather Service. And I'm lucky enough to be housed out of this facility, work closely with the people here, but also to get to work with individuals across the line offices of NOAA. Now, as you all know, water challenges are growing. There's multiple different threats, and not only are there a variety of threats that are facing us from a water perspective, but the impacts of those threats are growing and are very intense across the country. What we have found, and we verified through a variety of different stakeholder engagements, is at one point in time, we always thought that the main issue people were dealing with water was flooding. But in fact, that's not true. We're dealing a lot with water drought, the question of availability, water quality, and then how are things changing with climate change and other pressing issues that we're dealing with. What we've also found is that people really need high resolution information, and that comes down to a street or community level. And this is where people are having to make their decisions. And if we can provide that information to them in ways that they can actually layer that GIS and in ways that they can and will use it to make those better decisions, they're really asking for and in need of better ways of receiving information. Now, from a weather service perspective, we think about forecast and warning. From a NOAA perspective, we also deal a lot with data. But the bottom line is that even if we're able to have a clairvoyant forecast or perfect data, and we can actually get that out to people, which we know we don't have perfect data or a perfect forecast, but until we can actually get people to use our information, our forecasts, our warnings to make better, more informed decisions, then we still have work we can do. And that's where we are now. We're getting better at forecasts, we're getting better at producing better water data, but we still have a long way to go in actually getting that to individuals and communities in formats and in ways that they can and will use it to make better informed decisions about water resources, needs, planning, etc. It is that need that inspired the creation of my position and thus the Water Extension Program. And that was a partnership with the Weather Service Office of Water Prediction, the National Sea Grant Office, and then the Mississippi Alabama Sea Grant Program, as well as the University of Alabama came on board to hire my position and put me in this role to ultimately facilitate the delivery of resources that will allow communities and organizations to accurately and efficiently make vital short and long-term planning decisions regarding the safety and security of our citizens and water resources. Now, ultimately, what we're really trying to do here is contribute to the ability of, again, citizens and communities to plan for and protect not only individuals' lives, but water resources, property, public health, our economies, etc. It's a lot to kind of chew on and bite off there. So the way I look at this a little bit more simplistically is we're trying to transform the way that we think about and plan for water resources and events. And when I say we, transform the way the United States thinks about and plans for water resources and water events. We want to be able to ensure that communities and organizations know about the water products and services that are available. We want to understand the pressing water challenges that people are facing and try to help them get the right information and data they need to address those. And really, even from a higher level perspective, is facilitate the development of partnerships in order to get this information to the right people. And that's where I spend the majority of my time. Across NOAA, we're doing a really good job of producing a lot of tools and resources. And so how can I help to develop these partnerships in order to facilitate that two-way communication, getting people the right information that they need, but also learning what they need and sending that back to the specialists so that they can try and fill those gaps. And from a big picture perspective, the program's really kind of just a hub connecting parts of the water system. And within NOAA, we have a huge part of that system, but we also acknowledge that there's other entities, and this little diagram is not to say that this is everyone, but USGS plays a huge role. USDA and cooperative extension and agriculture play a huge role. And then obviously the university enterprise. And all of the connections that each of us and those entities have with the public and other partners are critical in us serving this long-term needs. So just a little bit about the responsibilities of my position. First and foremost, I'm a point of contact in providing two-way communication. I'm also here to collect stakeholder input and make sure that we're getting the relevant products and services. I implement outreach and education, and that's another big piece of it, or really the largest chunk ultimately. All of the things above that help me to implement outreach and education. And then I also provide a leadership role to increase collaboration, again, across these water issues. And as we all know, we have administrative responsibilities we have to keep track of and up to date on. A few key accomplishments that have happened since the program's inception. We have 2 extension documents about the program and what we do. Over 31 presentations to more than 830 individuals. Those are water and natural resource managers, planners, resilience practitioners, as well as Sea Grant and NOAA personnel and professionals. I've participated in over 46 different major conferences and meetings. And one thing that was a really great achievement a couple of years ago was actually a leadership role in development of the 10-year Sea Grant Water Resources Vision. And I wanted to tell you guys just a little bit about that. We actually, Sea Grant did a nationwide effort to inform programmatic actions, and they actually had 10 different visioning documents that they asked programs to help develop. And one of those was water resources. And I stood on the leadership team for the development of this framework. We had over 48 participants and contributors from over 21 programs across the Sea Grant network. And ultimately, the first thing we wanted to do was figure out what people's current capacity with water resources was, and then figure out how the programs would engage in water resources in the future and provide some definitions and some priorities and those ideas for how to proceed. The vision, ultimate vision for water resources for Sea Grant is that the National Sea Grant College Program engages with communities on critical water resource challenges and opportunities through research, outreach, education to facilitate knowledge-based solutions and collaborative decision-making in ocean, coastal, and Great Lakes communities on behalf of ecosystems and economies. Again, that's a lot of great aspirations, but ultimately there's 7 different priorities, actions, which will help address this through research, engagement, outreach, and extension and education. This was a great effort, and the document can be found on the Sea Grant webpage, or if you let me know, I'd be happy to make sure you get a copy of it. But I'm also continuing to work with the leadership team to see how we can raise water resources and the overall efforts of what Sea Grant does. As we think about additional activities that I do and ongoing efforts, I'd like to talk to you really briefly about a few of these, including the NOAA Water Initiative, actions with coordinating across the NOAA regional collaboration teams, building connectivity between Sea Grant and U.S. Geological Survey's Water Resource Research Institutes and other non-NOAA entities. And then another project that we're working on right now is the development of the Watershed Game coast models. These are all really great projects. First and foremost, as I said, as we're trying to address water issues, I hope many of you are aware that NOAA actually has what is called the NOAA Water Initiative. This plan actually came out in December of 2016. It was a 5-year plan to really try to make sure and ensure that everyone in the United States has timely, actionable information about vital water resources. This is a cross-line office initiative to really kind of streamline how we all work across water and, again, get better water information out. Like I said, it is a cross-line project and cross-line office project, and every one of our NOAA line offices has a role in water, and water's key in each of those programs. Whether it's stewardship or looking at global environmental data, as it says in NESDIS, or NOS looks more at evolving economic and environmental and social pressures. Obviously, the Weather Service is forecasts and predictions. And then, OAR obviously has a lot more with technology and improving science as well. All of these line offices came together, and there's 5 key objectives within this water initiative. The first is to improve modeling and prediction of water. The second is to enhance water-related observations, accelerate research and development. And then on the bottom, we have strengthened decision support tools and enhanced service delivery. And this is a role where my heart is tried and true is these decision support tools and how we deliver these services to our communities is really what so much of NOAA does, and so much of what Sea Grant does. And making sure then again that we get that information to people in formats and in ways that they can and will use it to make more informed decisions. Another piece of all of this is NOAA regional collaboration. And NOAA regional collaboration is a part of the NOAA Water Initiative, but it's also something that I've been involved with in my time here and will continue to be. The idea from NOAA regional collaboration is improving NOAA's service to the nation through collaboration. And I just think that this is a really key area as we're looking across the line offices, especially having to do with water. I've put a high priority in working with the different regional collaboration teams on this water issue and helping to use them as a way to get information out. Now, specifically in this effort, I'm actually a team member of the Gulf of Mexico Regional Collaboration Team, and I also work directly on a project between the Gulf and the Central regions having to do with runoff risk decision support tools, and which is really kind of branching out into larger water issues within the Mississippi River Basin. And so, as we all know, water doesn't really adhere to boundaries. So, working across these different regional collaboration teams as a way to not only get to NOAA, but to get to all of our external partners as well, is really critical when it comes to water. Another area where I focus a lot of time and effort is constant connections beyond NOAA. And one of those is an effort that I've worked very closely with Hawaii Sea Grant on and USGS Water Resource Research Institutes. Many people may not be aware, but actually USGS has a program that's fairly similar in a lot of ways to Sea Grant. They actually have programs in 54 United States and territories, which focus again on water issues and producing research to address key water issues in those particular states. We have 5 of the Sea Grant, well, it was up until about 6 months ago, 5 of our Sea Grant directors were actually co-directors of their Sea Grant program and their state's water resource research institutes. We're now down to 4. Hawaii split those programs recently, but the types of work that we do are very similar. And so working with Hawaii Sea Grant and Darren Lerner, Mary Donahue, we actually went out and tried to work with the directors of the Sea Grant programs and the water resource research institutes and centers in the coastal areas and better just connect those individuals and make sure that they were aware of each other, they were aware of what the programs are doing. And we're really looking at how we can synergize efforts across these different university-based programs to make a larger impact in these states. Over the last couple of years, we actually met with the directors in all of the coastal and Great Lakes states. And now we're kind of looking at where we want to go in the future to continue this. And one of the areas that I'm working to try and make sure that we do that is actually in coordination with, if you'll recall, I talked about working across the Gulf of Mexico and the Central Regional Collaboration teams on some water quality and runoff risk issues in the Mississippi River Basin. One of the next steps that we're trying to do is to actually think about how we can connect to the USGS Water Resource Institutes as well as the USDA's land grant extension programs, and think about connecting across all of these in the Mississippi River Basin to look at runoff risk as well as possibly some other water quality issues. But again, branching out beyond NOAA, as we all know, there's many people that are doing water research and water education. So how can we use all of these to better address these needs? So one last thing I want to kind of highlight for everyone is a very specific tool and resource that is a project I've been working on. I've been very fortunate to work with this, and don't know, there may be quite a few people online that aren't aware, but the Minnesota Sea Grant program actually created over 20 years ago and have continued to develop the Watershed Game program. And the Watershed Game is actually an interactive educational tool that can help individuals understand the connection between land use and water quality. And participants work in land use teams, and this is really a simple way to bring people together and start some very complex and what can be contentious discussions and get some ideas out in a very non-threatening way. Now, Like I said, this is a larger program. There's 3 different versions of a local leader game, and there's also a classroom version that's designed for students in the classroom, either traditional or non-traditional educational types of classrooms. This program has been in existence for over 12 years. It's used in more than 20 states, and there's over 300 trained facilitators to actually facilitate the use of this game in local communities and in classrooms. Early on in my time here, I was asked to really think about trying to bring this game down to the Gulf Coast. And the first thing that I noticed was, we really, we need to have something that's more applicable to Gulf or to coastal regions and coastal issues. As it currently exists, there's a stream version of the game, a lake version, and a river, but there wasn't something that specifically addressed a lot of the issues on coastal areas. And working together with Minnesota Sea Grant and Office for Coastal Management, as well as partners from the Mississippi-Alabama Sea Grant Program, we have now come out with a draft concept for a coast model. Will not only be the local leader for adult versions, but we'll have a classroom version as well. And this particular tool is actually designed to, like I said, address those key issues in coastal regions, but not only about water quality and connecting water quality to land use, but also to resilience and land use decisions and how they can impact coastal resilience. The way this is designed is that anybody, any coastal area of the United States should be able to see themselves in this particular version. And we are to the point where we're actually going to be doing our first pilots of this coast model next month. We'll be in Louisiana on February 18th in the New Orleans area, and then Mobile on February 19th, testing this out. But it's a really amazing tool that can be used to really educate people and like I said, break down some barriers and start some tough conversations. And it's something that I'm really proud of, and our team has put a lot of time and effort and come a long way for a resource that will take an already proven tool and really expand it to our entire coastal regions in the United States. So, I just wanted to highlight a few of the things that I've been working on. It's a bit of a unique position to work across the entire country and work across NOAA on water issues. As we know, water issues are complex, they're diverse, and they're intensifying. And really, my whole role here is to connect across NOAA and beyond in order to help us to address these critical issues and our data needs. And with that in mind, I'll just go ahead and open it up if anybody has any questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Karen, for that presentation. I don't have any questions trickling in quite yet, but I'm just gonna give it a minute and see if anyone has any. Okay, so here's our first question. Someone says, I was wondering about the NOAA Water Initiative objective to increase R&D. Could you expand more on it? Is it through funding opportunities, specific topics, etc.?
That is a great question, and I will be very honest and say that is one team that I have almost no affiliation with. I don't think they're providing any funding opportunities. My understanding is that they're trying to identify what the most pressing R&D needs are for NOAA and water, and then figure out how they can prioritize across the NOAA's budgets to get that done. Please let me caveat that is my understanding. Let me follow up, and if I'm wrong on that, let me circle back to you.
Okay, great. And then we do have a couple more questions coming in. So someone also asked you, how has this related to water levels outreach, i.e. related to flooding, et cetera?
I would say it's directly related, but not without knowing exactly, it seems that you might have some specific outreach things that you're thinking about. Really what we're trying to do is to have a better understanding of what people are currently doing and what the needs are, and then help to connect the right people, not only for things that already exist, but also if we need to create new things in the future. But one of the things that we found through some of the research with service delivery and decision support within the NOAA Water Initiative is that there's a lot of tools out there, maybe too many. And so we might need to just kind of tweak some of the existing things that we already have. So really looking at all of those options and what are the key things that are needed, how do we get those addressed, as well as better getting information out and improving products that currently exist.
Thank you. And then we also have someone asking, after the February pilot with the Watershed Game, what are the plans to further share this tool?
Okay, so we have the 2 pilots that are planned in February. We're may do a couple of additional pilots in the month of March. But once we get the pilots done, what we want to do is go back and make some edits. We're going to have to secure some additional funding to get the edits made. But the hope is that by late summer, we actually have a final version of both the coast and both the local leader and the classroom versions that we're ready to start training facilitators with. Great.
And on that note, someone had said, I'm really interested in the water quality game. How can we get updates on that?
If you can send me an email, and my email's on the screen right now, I'll make sure that you get on the list.
Great. All right. And another question that was just submitted, if there's a need for new decision support tools, what is the best way to go about exploring potential next steps? Ask you.
You can certainly send me information, and depending on what kind of tools you're looking for, I can try to put you in touch with the right people. But I can't guarantee I'll immediately know who to put you in touch with, but I can promise that I will work with you to find that out.
All right. And then let's see, someone had said, it sounds like your plate is already full, but would like to connect regarding water levels in the Great Lakes region and to invite you to participate on the regional team monthly call. So you will have that person's information after the brown bag too.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for the questions. I'm not seeing any more right now. So Karen, the library really appreciated having you give this talk today, and thank you everyone for joining us.
Yes, thank you, and thank everyone again for joining. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you today.
All right.
Thank you, Karen.
Thanks. Bye-bye.